Hello and welcome to a special edition and bonus episode of Tri Talking Sport with me, Joanne Murphy.
And me, Helen Murray.
So, for those of you who don't know Helen, she is a keen endurance athlete who herself takes on mammoth challenges from multi-day cycling adventures to hill walking, triathlon, to ultra running, and pretty much everything in between. She is also one of the best, and I mean the best, podcast hosts you will come across, with a fabulous, friendly style who gets the most from her guests every time.
Oh, thanks, Joanne. So for a little bit of background, basically during lockdown, Joanne and I decided to come together to host the Tri Commute. It was a really relaxed, interactive gathering with listeners and a live guest from the world of triathlon. We did it on Zoom on the last Friday morning of the month, and it was so much fun. But once people started to go back to school and back to work, it was a little bit hard to make it all happen. So we put it on pause. But we really knew that we wanted to do it again sometime, and celebrating some of the amazing female performances at the IRONMAN World Championships in St. George seemed like a perfect reason to host another Tri Commute. It was slightly different to usual, but oh my goodness, what a show.
That's for sure. What a show. Put the two of us together with some of the fastest females on the planet with a glass of wine, and it was lots and lots of fun. Now, we did stick to a Friday, but this time we moved it to an evening edition, and we're thrilled to be joined by so many listeners. It's difficult to find a time to suit everyone though, so we decided to record the interview part of the show and release it as a podcast, which is what you are about to hear. We're so grateful to our partners Nuasan, who came on board to support this event. We had spot prizes on the night, and everyone who registered for the Tri Commute received a cool 20% discount code. So if you listen closely, you might hear the code being mentioned. And if not, pop me an email and I will send the code to you. Send it to tritalkingsport@gmail.com. We kind of sound like that. You can check out the skincare and body care recovery products from Nuasan on www.nuasan.com. So enjoy the next hour of chat and laughter with some of the world's leading female long-distance triathletes. Welcome to the Tri Commute special edition, the St. George special, celebrating our amazing female athletes who had some fantastic times and performances at the Intermountain Healthcare Ironman World Championships presented by the Utah Sports Commission. My name is Joanne Murphy, and I'm joined tonight by Helen Murray of the Inside Tri Show, and we are so excited to be here with our guests. So before we get underway, Helen Murray, how did this event actually come about?
So I think I was 6 o'clock in the morning. I think I was probably doing a bit of Welsh homework, and I sent you a message and I said, we need to hear about what it was like in St. George. How do you reckon? What do you reckon? Should we do a Tri Commute like with you? And you said...
I said, no, not with me. Let's pull in some of our amazing professional athletes from the UK who did us all so proud over in Utah. And let's also bring Hilary Hughes, our up-and-coming professional athlete from Ireland, fastest amateur athlete for the ladies, both in Ireland and the UK. So we are delighted to have you all here this evening. But Helen, it's funny what happens in a haze of jet lag and travel. I think I was over the Atlantic. Most important question of the night, how is your Welsh?
Da'n diolch. Dwi'n mwynhau siarad Cymraeg, ond mae'n Cymraeg yn galed iawn.
Okay, Fenella, will you translate for us?
Hwnna da. I can't remember much else. Diolch.
Right, I don't really know what I said either, Fenella, don't worry about it. So yeah, my Welsh is progressing, Joanne.
That's really good.
Totally.
It's such a hard language.
That's what I said. I said it's very hard.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it. Of course I did.
Helen, I'm going to hand over to you. Let you start interviewing and chatting about our guests this evening.
Perfect. Well, yeah, it's such a pleasure to have everyone here. So we're going to have Kat Matthews, who was second. Thank you, Kat. Ruth Astle, who was fifth. Laura Siddall, an amazing 7th place. Fenella Langridge, who was 8th. Nikki Bartlett, who was 13th. And then we have Hilary Hughes as well, who was 2nd in her age group and 4th age group athlete overall. And it's a pleasure, absolute pleasure, to have you all here. I like it. It's mad. Kat, starting with you, has your phone stopped ringing yet?
Context. When we were doing an interview earlier in the week, it rang about, was it twice? Just twice.
At least twice.
It was twice. But cool news is that was a new contract, so that's fun. Yeah, it's settled down. But it's been a fun adventure to I don't know, I look forward to the rest of the season. I guess that's what's quite cool about having a really big race at the start of the season, is that it gives us as professionals the opportunity to say, look, we're actually quite good at this. Can we, so we haven't had a big race for 2.5 years. I mean, a few of us have never raced in a professional world champ. So it's a great sort of platform to then be like, cool, Kona's in 5 months. Do you want us to represent you in 5 months' time? So it's a lot of work, and it's hard to get the balance right between chilling out and enjoying and then trying to capitalise on the professional side of the sport, I guess.
Ruth, how was your first time as a professional at the Ironman World Championships?
Yeah, definitely quite different to being in an age grouper in some ways, but also lots of similarities. And there were definitely moments that I felt like even more of a chopper than I ever have done before. Like check-in the day before where I hadn't put any of the stickers on my bike, and I turned up and they nearly didn't let me in when I was having a right old flap. Kat had to basically take me aside and calm me down. I think just there's loads of things that actually made it feel like a world champs, and actually made it feel like a pro race. Like there's some pro races where you turn up and you feel like you're not really wanted or an important part of the event, but actually for this race, like it definitely felt like we were a big part of it. I felt like we were generally treated like really well and made to feel quite special, and yeah, it was a pretty epic experience.
Fenella and Sid, one of you can answer first, right? Were you or were you not having like the most epic of ding-dongs on the run?
There's a lot of toing and froing, that's for sure. But it was really lovely. Like Sid was so encouraging, and I'm afraid I don't think I gave as much back as I could have. Not much there to say, but yeah, it was cool to, well, especially with another Brit, to be encouraging each other to help each other get to the finish line in those conditions. So I'm very thankful.
I guess I'm just thankful as the old bird in the group, a lot older than these other women, that I can still give a good race. And it was awesome to see Kat and Ruth up there, obviously, and Fenella, first World Championships, absolutely crushing it, especially having had the last couple of years with no races, and them coming, all of them, I think, with the greatest respect from age group, to suddenly absolutely killing it on the pro fields, which was really amazing to see. Battles with Fenella, I'll say watch out for her in the future. She's got a lot more to give. I've got 2-0 over her on races of passing her in the last 5K, and I know my time is up soon. And I also would like to say I gave Fenella my water bottle in the race that Alex Yee has had world acclaimed fame giving Hayden Wild his water bowl. No one captured that on camera. But also, having Nikki there, just having such a strong British contingent was really, really impressive and proud to be. And again, I'm going to say it as being, I still feel I'm pretty new in the sport, but not as new as these other women. And just seeing them come through it's really encouraging for the sport and the future of not just British triathlon, but the sport of triathlon as a whole.
Nikki, right, what was it like for you actually landing in America, arriving in St. George and kind of being there, given, you were pretty much bedbound earlier this year?
Yeah, to be honest, it was a terrible winter, but I got a really good block of training in. I'd say a good 8 weeks where I was doing all 3 disciplines. I didn't have the performance I wanted to on the day, but obviously very proud to be there. But I did go because I thought I could be competitive. I didn't just go to kind of make up numbers. But unfortunately it didn't quite turn out the way I planned on race day, but that's sport. But yeah, it was amazing to be back. So I absolutely loved St. George. Had an amazing time at World 70.3 Champs and had good memories. We've got a lovely homestay. The Red Rock is insanely beautiful. So yes, it was amazing to be back. And I'm here on my bed to hopefully get my spot for World 70.3s later on in the year to go back there.
Amazing. We're going to come back to all of you, but I want to ask Hilary a question as well to begin with. And Hilary, what's now, this evening? I know you said a little bit earlier, you're a little bit, and I'm going to say it, you're a little bit nervous about kind of being here with everyone else. And we're like, no, you definitely need to be here.
No, the league of women that are on this podcast is outrageous. Like, and I was joking with Joanne. I was like, "Are you bringing me on to maybe ask me to stop stalking them online because I know you all?" But it's really cool, and thank you for including me. I know that some of you made a journey from age groupers to where you are now. So it's not completely foreign to you. And age groupers are a massive part of the sport. So yeah, thanks a million for having me on.
Hilary, do you find it kind of quite inspiring having, the likes of Ruth, who just 2.5 years ago was overall age group world champion?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, look, I do. I follow you all online. I watch what you do. I aspire to get a tenth as good as you guys. Ruth went, she was on the Zwift academy team. I went for it after following you. Got close, but didn't get close enough. I've followed Nikki since I think she did the 70.3 in Dublin. I thought she was amazing. And yeah, I've been watching you all. I mean, I spotted you all in St. George as well. I was shouting at you as you were running. So yeah, it's really, really cool to have. I think with social media, it's so cool to have people accessible to you, to watch what they do, to try and mimic it. And I suppose see that it is possible, and that it's not necessarily a straightforward line either. I think the ladies online here in particular are really good at saying it as it is, and being quite honest about their journeys, and that makes it seem even more real, if not maybe still it feels a little far away to reach up to, but it's real, the journey that they give us. So yeah.
Ruth, I'd love to know what advice would you have now for Hilary in her shoes? She's going to take her pro card later this summer.
Oh, advice. I think that's just tricky, because I think if you've got to this point and you're getting your pro card, like, you're probably so far along that journey already. I'm not sure how much useful stuff I could give, but I think probably the main thing I would say is hold on to what you love about it. Like, it should still be fun as a pro. Like, you should be doing it because you really want to do it. Otherwise, you're probably not going to get that far, because you'll be dreading the training and not enjoying it. For me, there's lots of days where I wake up and I'm like, if it's pissing down with rain, and it's like, I'm not sure I want to go out. And then I just have to think, well, I mean, the other option is that I could be waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and going to the office for a 10-hour day, which I know what I'd rather be doing. So continue to enjoy it. Don't feel like you suddenly have to increase everything, and don't believe everything you see on social media. I know people generally are better at giving some more of the honest picture, but yeah, I'd say my volume has increased a bit. But the main thing that I've increased is sleep and recovery. And that is probably the biggest difference you're going to get from being age group to pro, is what I found.
Ruth, how was the after party as a pro?
Well, I mean, St. George is the worst place for an after party, because no alcohol anywhere. No, we managed to find the one bar, and actually it was really epic, because we actually ended up going to the same bar that Daniela came to, and I think my initial kind of fangirl
correction, Ruth, she came to our bar.
Oh yeah, okay, she came to our party. Basically, Kat invited her, and she's now Kat's number 1 fan. So yeah, no, it was really cool. So it was very chilled. From we just had some nice drinks and chats, and yeah, it was not quite on the level of the Kona after party, because there wasn't much dancing, but I think we can save that. I feel I'm not sure I could handle a Kona after party at this time in the year.
It's not like Huggos, is it though? No. It's a bit more spaced out. You haven't quite got the beachfront and the sand bar to go to.
It was really nice there. I felt like it was a good mix of being able to hang out with the people I wanted to hang out with post race, and be able to relax and enjoy it, but yeah, not be too ridiculous.
If she dropped the Umeke bowl this time, it would break. Whereas, in Kona, if you drop the bowl, it's not going to break. So,
I know some people that broke their bowls. Not me, but I know some people that did. It's possible.
I managed to get mine home on 3 days of flights in a third carry-on baggage. And it was on my back as I walked through my apartment door in Girona, and I swung round and clattered it against the door, and my heart just sank going, please don't tell me I've just got 6 bags over 3 days of travel and I've broken this bowl. And thankfully, because it was wrapped in the IRONMAN towel, it was okay. But I was like panicked that I've like got back over 3 days and I'm now going to break it on the last 5 meters into my house.
I was going to ask, Kat, tell us more about the best friends with Daniela thing.
I feel like I've laboured this way too much. No, she's just a really cool competitor. It was cool that we were actually able to race for a bit. I think like I've never really, I can't like think of many experiences that I've been in a race where I've actually been like racing someone, which sounds really silly, but I think in the female professional field, and I guess it's similar in the age group field, is that you're aware of where people are roughly, but you're never so close that you're actually racing someone. And I knew that there was, this window of opportunity where I thought I was strong enough to hold that, and I obviously wasn't. But we had this sort of, like a proper race, I guess. And in a world championships, just the idea of that was ridiculous. Obviously, we each had a media bike following us the whole way. So I think like through the race, there was this sort of camaraderie built up. And then, afterwards, she was just like totally cool. It wasn't me who's just the party. Of course, it was Mark, my husband. He rallied like half the field there, I think. And then, I think it's not Daniela specifically. It's like mutual respect, like Laura was saying, within the female field. It's just a really cool environment. And for me, I don't know about everyone else, but I just see everybody, like when I have those hard sessions, I'm like, oh, well, Ruth would go swimming. And if I, she would do it, so I better do it. That's sort of like, she's a better person at that moment in my head on that day, and that motivates me to go swimming. And then when we come to a race and we're racing each other, and it's like, like I know how much work I've put in, therefore I know how much work you've put in, so fair play. And and we're all within minutes of each other, so it's over 8 or 9 hours. It's ridiculous. So I think it's not just Daniela and I, it's everybody. It's like this sort of like mutual respect. And the cool thing about triathlon is obviously it covers not just the females, but it also switches across. The male have the same mutual respect for the females as we do for them, and I don't think you see that in many sports. I think that's pretty cool.
And like with the when in what kind of sense, Kat, would you say that is evident that the males have that respect as well?
I think you see it in training groups. So not only we can talk about the PTO as the rankings as like a separate, like a secondary thing, but I think before that we see it in training groups. Like we're cycling with the guys, we're training in big groups, even at the ITU level. I think it's just this, it's the work you put in, but it's because the performance is so good. It's an endurance sport where women can perform just as well as men within the percentage of physiological difference. And I think we're actually getting closer. Like the women are getting closer to that, which is not, that doesn't happen. So even though we haven't got the depth, you can see the percentages getting closer. And that's what the PTO rankings are showing, for example, in St. George, where the women are scoring higher than the men again, because it's based off whatever it's based off. But it's based off a percentage difference. And we're bridging that gap, which is really cool to see in a lot of the races, especially the big races where we're seeing the top competitors racing against the top competitors.
I love that. Sid, coming out of T2, you did actually have the biggest grin on your face and you were like waving and everything. Did the, I don't know, A, are you kind of conscious of that? And B, did that last very long?
I wanted to give a high five to Joanne and Paul Kay, who were in the stand. And then I realized the run course went in off in a different direction. So I'm like trying to gadget arms, extend on the right to give Joanne and Paul a high five as we're not whisked because it's all relative at that point. We're not really whisking anyway. But as we're taken off up to the left to the hill. So no, it was slightly delusional at that point. I think I was in a slight sort of, so it was really funny. you came into T2 and it was in a tent, and you went from this like brilliant sunshine to like suddenly this really dark tent with no lights, no nothing. And like I had to take my sunglasses, I couldn't see a thing. And you run through that, and then you came out again into this bright sunlight, and then you're on the run, and then I could see Joanne and Paul, and that just gave me such a buzz. And it lasted for about 30 seconds till I went around the corner and hit the hill, and then I went, oh shit. But no, it was just I was just so excited, and I listened to Joe and Joanne and Hilary's podcast this morning when I was running, and it was such a buzz. But I was so excited to see Joanne on the mic out there and on Hot Corner, and I'm a massive fan of Paul Kay. I think he's a fantastic commentator as well, and I know how good a rapport they have. So I was just at that point, that gave me a buzz to getting on the run, and I was trying to high five them and failed miserably as we went up the hill the other direction.
Did anyone have a run that they were loving nearly all of it? Because I know Kat, we've heard, yeah, exactly. Kat in detail. Ruth, Nikki, Fenella, what was
Ruth did?
I was going to say Ruth must that's going to be a pretty solid hit out for Ruth.
I wasn't enjoying it.
No.
I was very much suffering, and I've had this discussion with a few people, if you pretend you're really enjoying it and you smile a lot, everyone cheers you like so much more. So for me, I take loads of energy from the crowd and from other people. So like when I see other, like every time I saw Kat, and like part of it was like, I was like, I can see that she's not very happy. And compared to like Tulsa, where she had this massive grin on her face the whole run, I was like, oh, okay. But part of me was like, thank God she's human. She's struggling in the run too. It's not just easy going for her. But I was a bit like, well, I can focus on like that for a bit and like give her a shout and not think about how much it's hurting me. And the same with like some of the guys and again, like going back to the point of mutual respect. I think again, like some of them, like Chris Leiferman gave me like a cheer as we went past, and it's like literally because I've done like a couple of rides with him in Lanzarote. Like I don't even know him like that well, but things like that, I think you see the respect. But yeah, for me, I think I did a very good job of pretending I was really enjoying it. Whereas actually the first half of the run, my watch wasn't working the whole time. It kept telling me that I was doing 6.5 minute Ks. And I was like, I better bloody not be. Otherwise I'm going to fucking go and lie down and give up right now. But so I had no idea what pace I was running. And I definitely went off way too fast. But I think like the first 10K was all right. And I thought I was catching people. So that felt better. And then basically from like that first turnaround, it just then got really hard. But I was like, well, if I just keep pretending that it's all great and smile at all the crowds, then maybe it'll go faster. And I'm not sure it went any faster, but at least I got lots of good cheers from people. So that helped.
What about anyone else? Because I think it's really intriguing. Like a lot of people now watching this, listening to this, will be like, oh, just my run, it falls apart. Like how do you get through that marathon when you are feeling so negative and you're feeling rubbish and everything hurts? Like how do you get through it? Because it's a long way to go.
You think about the nice wine that's waiting at the end, or just the relief of finishing.
Or yeah, just if you go faster, you'll finish quicker. Doesn't always work like that, but
that run was grim. I'm not gonna lie, and especially because my last experience at St George run, like I felt so good and easy on the run. So I was like, God, that easy that the next day after the race, I went for like a 2-hour run because it felt great. And then so I was in this space where I was like, this couldn't feel worse if it tried. And then I was like, I literally the whole day made every excuse you could think of under the sun to DNF. And then I started running, and then you just know from where people are on the field, like you say like 70-80% of guys and which I was looking at the time, were not having the day they wanted, but they were still going. And I was like, right, if they can do it, I can do it. And kind of just like, and then you started to see some of the other females, and I was like, okay, they're still going. So I can still go. And you kind of like try and make it challenge you in a different way. Like, because I wasn't going to go any faster, but I had to think of every single mental cue to get myself to that finish line. And I was like, I am not getting there, even if I have to walk the last lap. So it's definitely for me just seeing people suffering on the course as well at the same time, and they're still going. So like, I've got no reason to not get to that line, so I'm going to get there. And then you just start thinking about afterwards. I was like, how would I feel if I woke up the next day for DNF versus, you know, getting to line even if it's not the result you wanted. And then also, like, I was figuring it out, and I was like, I think every female is still on the course now, so thank God I finished. I wouldn't have wanted to be the only DNF. And yeah, and just, it's also like, obviously, I just want to congratulate everyone on the call, just because you can tell people are having a great day. Like, you know, some people could have a better day or better splits or whatever, but, you know, I could see everyone's having a great day. And that's amazing. Like, I tried to cheer them on as much as I could. And then I was like, I've come all the way to America. Like, Bex was there, her family was there. And I was like, I am getting to this line and I'm making this the race that I reflect back on and think you can't feel any worse than you did than St. George. So this weekend when I'm suffering, I'm going to reflect back saying, no, you're not suffering as much as you were in St. George. So that's going to be my referral for the rest of my career in a session or in a race. So that's what got me to the line.
And Nikki, was Marbella 70.3, which is this weekend, was that always on the cards, or has that been a sort of late decision?
So I'm on quite a few start lists at the moment. I'm only actually on 3 in the next 7 weeks or something, but that feels like a lot. So yeah, so I already want my World 70.3 slot. I've got big ambitions there later on in the year and the end of October. And we've only got to the 3rd of July to qualify. So I was like, well, I need to do one just in case I need a backup race. And I thought 2 weeks after an Ironman, I should be okay. It's more the sleep, if I had enough sleep and recovery from that jet lag hell, is my main question. Like, some days I wake up and I'm like, I am feeling amazing. Like, I actually felt really good today, but yesterday I felt like, why am I here? I need to go home. So hopefully this weekend goes to plan. It was on the cards. Another 70.3 start line next weekend, which I'm trying to persuade Bex to allow me to go. But she's going to Poland, so she won't even know if I go.
We have quite a few questions coming through. So these are like rapid fire questions. So I'm going to go with Hilary. First of all, did you set out to win, or did the result come as a surprise? Did the result surprise you or not?
I don't think I set out to win, definitely not. I set out to have a solid performance for myself. So it was my second time doing the full distance. Joanne, do you know that?
It's insane, Hilary. It's
insane. So yeah, you know, I didn't. I think when it's your second time doing it, you still are learning a lot. So I just wanted a solid performance, and that's what I tried for. So it was paced comfortably, but I was still tired at the end.
Ronan has said, can Hilary challenge all the pro athletes to race up Crowpatrick? It is a fabulous mountain that Hilary goes doing all her hill repeats on. So I think we should challenge them all to come to Westport for an end of season party. What do you reckon, Hilary? Could you put them all up?
I'd like to invite them, absolutely. I don't know if I'd like to challenge them up it though. Unless I get a head start.
And Tristan Willis asks, what do you as athletes at your level look for in a coach? He says, knowledge, experience is needed, but what is the main thing you need in your coach? Also, what advice would you give to a coach with the military background wanting to work with high performance athletes?
I think coaching is just about communication, knowledge. I guess you need some degree of that and experience, depending on what level you are. Obviously, the more elite you want to be, the more knowledge maybe you need, and maybe more experience. But I guess it's just a balance between all of them. But it's generally the better coaches are the better communicators, to get the best out of you and to understand your needs, your goals, what you want to do, how much time you have, especially as age groupers or people who have other demands, family, work, dogs, cats, you know, you name it. And yeah, I think if you're looking for a coach, you've got to have that good relationship, that trust where you can say to them, I can't do this today, and not be scared to say it, and understand, yeah, you both have got to have that shared goal of whatever that may be and understand each other.
Laura wants to come in there as well, I think.
I'm just going to say, Fenella, are you saying that because Billy's in the room with you? Just checking.
No, he's not here.
By your partner. I'm just wanting to clarify.
He's not here. You didn't want to hear us chat, unfortunately.
We have another question as well. Lots of research about female and male athletes being driven to compete by different factors, as Kat has described. Female community, camaraderie, female mutual support, which is very evident here. However, do you notice the difference between the energy they derive from each other compared to how the male athletes operate?
I think it's probably quite hard for any of us to really answer that, because I guess like we don't really see that male race as they're racing. I think as a kind of like a high level outside view in, it maybe seems like on the women's side, we seem to be a lot more kind of supportive and kind of friendly, whereas I think a lot of the men seem to thrive a bit more off kind of a bit more of the like smack talk and trying to build up a bit of hype around it and stuff. Whereas I don't think we see that much on the women's side, like mainly because I think we would probably all feel a bit fake if we were doing it in the way some of the men do it. Because I think, you know, like I want everyone to have their best day and I want to beat them all on their best day. And I think most people would say the same. So to start coming out with like weird smack talk of like, I'm going to destroy you on the bike or, you know, weird, it would feel really strange. So I think for me, I'd just say it feels like the women are maybe not fake about it. I think some of the male smack talk is a bit fake.
Just adding to that, I think Ruth actually captured that perfectly. And I wish this is recorded, isn't it? Because I want to go back and take that. So a discussion or a point I've had with the way the two genders are being promoted in the sport at the moment. And there was a fantastic article off the back of the Winter Olympics. And I think it came out about the US Winter Olympics team, about the women's side of the sport. And it was very much around like, yes, they wanted to compete for medals. Yes, they want to have their best performance. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they were so excited to see other women in their sport, in their discipline, in other sports, like just having an amazing race. And there was so much camaraderie around the women's side of the sport. And I feel a little bit like Ruth has said much more eloquently than I will, that I know that a lot of fans love the smack talk that goes down by the men, and they love seeing that. And I find that some organizations are trying to push that in the women's side. And I think, again, I'm speaking for myself, so please, other women on here, jump in. I feel that does feel very unnatural for the women and doesn't feel right. And I feel like we could have such a powerful engagement tool in the sport if we did this, women supporting women. Yeah, we all want to beat each other. Like come that race start, yeah, you know, you want to beat the person you're competing against. But at the end of the day, you all actually have mutual respect for each other. And it's very different, I think, on the women's side pre-race than post-race. And I would love to see some of those organizations like really pushing that to also get more women into the sport by seeing it's a really inclusive environment and it's a really inclusive atmosphere that actually women will support women in the sport and not have this like put down and smack talk. But that's a whole other argument and issue. And I'm going to get down off my soapbox now.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but do you think, just putting out that it's very British of us to be like that? Like
possibly.
I think Americans or
it's not American and it's not wrestling. Saying
yeah, like maybe. Or
I even feel like it doesn't sit right with me because it's like, okay, like in your. So I think, and I'm going to take the example, and Kat's probably going to find this embarrassing, but like, I thought the way that Kat spoke about her like ambitions and how she was feeling before the race was like perfect. So it was like, it was confident. She knew her abilities, but she wasn't like dissing anyone else. Whereas I feel like the men, it's a bit like they're almost trying to like take other people down. And it's like, you don't need to do that. And I feel like it can come across a bit disrespectful. And I don't think they mean it in that way. Well, I hope they don't mean it in that way, but like, I think, and yeah, maybe it is a bit British, but like, I just think it's a slightly more classy way of doing it, to not be like tearing other people down or trying to be like, I'm going to smash your legs in or whatever, however they say it. Like, I can't even do it because I I don't agree with it.
What's the lady,
Come on, Ruth. Come on, Ruth. Right, do it, Ruth.
Beat you.
Kat, next time I'm going to outrun you so much when I get those new shoes.
Okay, Helen, have you a couple more questions there before we go back to some of our audience questions?
Yeah, one thing I would love to know is coming back to Hilary, actually, because I didn't give Hilary the best introduction. I just said, this is Hilary, really. But actually, Hilary is a really, really fascinating, amazing woman who happens to also be a doctor as well as an incredibly talented athlete. Hilary, how the heck do you juggle everything?
I don't know if I do. Well, I do. I don't know if I do very well. I think a lot of people at some stage throughout the sport will have to juggle everything or a lot of things. It depends. I think you decide what you want to give the most priority to at the time. And that does have to kind of get 60 to 70% of your time, and you just have to make your peace with that. At different times, I would have been all in on my work or my study, and sport would have come second. And then at different times, I would have said, you know what, sport's going to get more priority now, and I'll try and keep tipping over 30, 40% with work and things like that as well. But yeah, it's just about being smart and knowing not to spread yourself too thin, or else everything falls apart, which can happen anyway, even with the best intentions. But yeah.
How did you cope with the idea? Because I feel like a lot of people listening will have this balance of work and triathlon and life. How did you balance the idea of sacrificing some of your, I guess, achievement, or potential or skill or whatever it is, like doctor knowledge, work, life, and then to sort of say, no, I'm not going to be the best I can be at being a doctor right now because I want to try and be the best I can be at triathlon? Because that's the balance that I think people think, oh, I'm just going to try and turn pro, but it's like there's always something else that you're probably giving up. I think that's really a hard decision. It
is a really hard decision, especially it's not like you're guaranteed it's going to go well, and the only way that you have any chance of it going well is to give it its full attention, or give it your full attention, I think anyway. I think that's your best chance in anything in life, is to, if you really want it to go well, you do need to give it most of your time. So I think, you have to kind of think long and hard about it and think about your whys, and why you really want to do this, and a little bit of future perspective as well, I think I had to work on. So, how would I feel in 10 years' time if I didn't try and get the most out of myself in sport now? And, in 6 years' time, could I potentially go back, make my way up through medicine again? It'll be really challenging because, trying to maintain your skills and knowledge throughout that time isn't that easy, especially if you're not in practice. But I think, you have a good deep think yourself, and, ask for advice and look at, chat to people around you. Maybe you've done something similar. That's what I did.
I just want to pick up on that, because I think you made some really, really good points there, especially about the having to give it your full attention. And I guess as another sort of perspective on it, loads of people when I was in age group were like, oh, how are you juggling it all, etc. I kind of wasn't. I prioritized what I wanted to prioritize, which was triathlon. I gave up a lot of other things. I was literally working and training, and that was it. I sacrificed relationships. I didn't do much of friendships. It's definitely a balance. So I think, again, to other people that are maybe thinking of oh, it's so great, you can be a good age grouper and then you can just drift into this pro life, to your point exactly, you are giving up a lot of other stuff before you even get there. But
get there. Yeah.
So I think I just wanted to agree with you on you definitely make that decision of what you give up. It's not just, oh, they're so brilliant, they've juggled everything. And I don't want people to think that you can kind of have it all, because I don't think, I have way more balance now as a pro, way more balance. So yeah, just you probably do have to make some sacrifices of stuff if you want to do that.
Are you still working at all, Ruth, or have you decided you are doing some? Yeah, so you're balancing.
Because they're super flexible, right? I'm doing like 14 hours a week across the week as I feel fit. I can do it whenever I want. So it's, yeah.
And Kat, do you have any work, military, military commitments, or?
Military commitments are flexible. Physio is, someone asked what I gave up. I guess I've given up being a clinician. Whether that is all of physiotherapy, I'm not convinced, but the day-to-day contact, helping 10 people plus a day, chatting to them, learning about their lives, making a difference to other people hour by hour, that's what I've given up. And I guess I spent 3 years training to do that and 4 years practicing it, and I love it. It was so stressful and so hard, and I don't necessarily want to go back to that, but at the time I gave it up, and I gave up the idea that I was going to be really good at physio, and I struggled for the whole first year of this, but I'm not going to be the best physio ever because I'm useless, because I'm only doing 6 hours a week. And even when there's 6 hours a week, when I go into work, I'm like, you're still using notes because I've forgotten how to do something that I haven't seen because I haven't been in work for this. That was a real challenge. And then I sort of guess I just slowly transitioned away from it and to the idea that I can't be the best in the world at something and be a really excellent physio spending 40 hours a week at work. You can't do both. And somebody my boss in the army said that to me. They were like, you have to just transfer where you put your excellence. You only have X amount of hours or X amount of attention, and you have to just, I guess, just transfer it. But I also think the cool thing about this sport is that it doesn't last forever. Some people will think that's a rubbish thing about the sport, but it's not. And it's a transitional phase that we will all go through, and we'll all come out the other side, age group and professional alike. There'll be a stage, I think, for most people. Sure, there'll be some people who don't give up ever, but I plan on going. I plan on giving up. But but yeah, so there's it's always just a transition, right? It's just one phase of life. So I don't know.
Kat, can I jump in there and just pick you up on one thing that you said about being the practical hands-on physio, where you're not affecting people's lives on a daily basis, hour by hour? Can I just tell you that while you're sleeping, and in fact, while all of you are sleeping, you are inspiring the rest of us. So, what you're doing at the pinnacle of the sport, being the ambassadors for triathlon and being so good at what you do and being so gracious about it as well, inspires us all to be the best that we can be. So please do take that from today. And we're so privileged to have you with us tonight, and to have you in the sport and being the people that we can all look up to, whether we're age group athletes, whether we flit in and out of the sport, or whether some people that are listening tonight, like I see Abby Conway is on listening to us tonight. She's an amazing young athlete from Westport, the same town as Hilary, and has the potential to go all the way as well if she chooses to. So you guys are so inspiring for the rest of us. And I think Helen and probably everybody who's listening to me will agree. So please do take that, and that when you're sleeping, you are still inspiring us.
Such a good point, Joanne. Such a good point. Honestly, very, very well said. And I do want to add, there's a few more things that I definitely want to ask. But while everyone is here as well, and maybe it'll embarrass you now, Joanne, I don't know, but you have also basically made history. You were the first female announcer at an Ironman World Championships. The reason that I suggested doing this was to hear about you. So you can now go on. Actually, congratulations, really blooming well done. What was the highlight for you?
It's I'm still pinching myself. It was just amazing, from start to finish. I think anybody who saw me knew I was just buzzing off the energy that it was to be there, to be part of the team, the build up to it. We had a fantastic morning with Laura and Nikki and Julie Moss and Paula Newby-Fraser for the Women for Tri breakfast. It was just fabulous. Then got to interview Dave Scott, Mark Allen, Ben Hoffman, Julie Moss on the All World Athlete breakfast. Iron Kids, Parade of Nations, a bus tour. I did a bus tour around Snow Canyon. Sure, I didn't know what I was talking about. I had great fun. And then race day was just, I suppose I I never expected to be on the finish line. It was never part of the plan, as far as I knew. I was going to be on the hot corner, and the hot corner was where I could let rip and be the Joanne Murphy announcer, having the crack, seeing everybody out on the course and having fun. And I was telling Helen earlier today, that at one stage when the pro men had gone through into the finish line, I'd been on the mic for hours, like a long, long time without taking a break. And they're like, oh, take a break. And I said, are you having a laugh? No way. All my friends are coming through now. All the girls are coming through. I am not moving until all these women are through into the finish line. That was very special. And seeing the reaction of, the girls coming through the hot corner where, they come in off the bike and go into T2, back out, back up the hill. And that roundabout, they had to go through it 4 times on the run course. For me, getting a reaction from the athletes, they're trying to do the high five or the high or whatever. It was just brilliant. And then, as Hilary knows, a very special moment because I got to call her across the finish line. And that was something that we had both talked about. And I met Hilary at bike check-in, and both of us were quite emotional at what we were about to do. And she kept saying to me, I can't wait to hear you call me down the finish line. And I didn't have the heart to tell her that, like, I won't be on the finish line. So I was like, yeah, it's going to be awesome. So then the sheer goosebump moment for me was knowing how excited Hilary was at the thought of me being on the finish line and then actually being there. And then we both got really emotional after at the awards and stuff, because it's such a privilege. And yeah, it was, I'm probably rambling now because I'm put on the spot, but it was so cool. And getting the little nod from Sid as she ran into the finish line. I think I got the nod from Kat or the smile or whatever. And even from Ruth and Fenella. And then Nikki, I was tracking Nikki as well. And the lads were trying to say, go on, have a break. And I was like, no, I can't go. Nikki has to come in yet. No, like, no way. So it was just so special to be part of it. And I don't think for a while it'll sink in of the importance of what it was. And it was great to be the first. As I said before, it comes with a huge amount of responsibility and you have to back yourself. And there's many a day where I'm sitting behind my laptop or I'm sitting in an interview and I'm like, oh my God, I'm making an absolute hames of this, or I'm on a microphone and I've made a mistake and I'm totally questioning whether I should even be here. But it was pretty cool. And it's been amazing to be in the company of such great athletes over the years, and to know that you guys were very supportive as well on the course and giving me the lift. I know we gave you a lift, but you guys gave us a lift as well. So it was super. So I hope that answered your question, but yeah, it was awesome.
Absolutely. Fantastic job. And clearly fantastic job out there as well, because you're going to be going to Kona as well, aren't you?
I am actually going to Kona, and I've just signed a contract as well that I will be at the IRONMAN 70.3 Phoenix. I'll be in California at the full distance, and then I will be in Utah for the 70.3. So you're the first to hear it. Woohoo! Look at all these cheers. So I will actually be in the UK as well. I'm going to be doing all the UK and Ireland events, but then October I'll go to the States for a month and work with the team out there. So yeah, delighted and very excited. So Nikki Bartlett, you better qualify for the 70.3 Worlds. No pressure.
I know, that's going to give me extra buzz on Sunday.
when it's really hurting, Nikki, you're not thinking about St. George and the hurt you have. You're like, oh my God, Joanne will kill me if I don't qualify.
I could tell you were in the moment by the finish line commentating, because we were stood over the other side of the road shouting your name. Like, Joe, over here, Joe! And you couldn't hear us.
Joanne, John has a question for you, which is, have you got a special secret which allows you to retain your voice for 10 hours?
Irish whiskey, isn't it?
I don't actually, really, just drinking lots of fluids, and just like an athlete has to fuel for the day, you just have to fuel, and you take your breaks when you get them. You take the chance to not speak, but then that's very hard because you do get overexcited. Have to keep the voice intact. You are protecting it a bit. It's just, you just keep going, and it's more than 10 hours. 10 hours is only short. We were awake for 24 hours, I think, on race day. So, so it's good. Wine is actually not bad as medicinal.
Well, I have a dilemma because my fluids is empty.
What's the dilemma? What to put in next?
I was on some Welsh gin that somebody bought me very kindly. Helen, Rich.
I've got another question going back to sort of World Championship stuff. How much did you miss having Lucy Charles Barkley in that race, and how much are you looking forward to Kona with hopefully a fully fit Lucy Charles Barkley?
I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to offend a lot of people. Not at all, because I think Kat rocked it. And I'm super excited to see that the British triathlon in the women's side of the sport is not just about Lucy Charles Barkley. I'm sorry to Lucy Charles Barkley fans, but I think we have a fantastic talent of female athletes that should be competing at the best. They are competing at the best. They're competing with the best, and they deserve the recognition. I respect Lucy and I respect everything she's achieved and what she is capable of. But I think Kat, Ruth, Fenella, Nikki, who else that wasn't racing and had to pull out from the British side of things? No, I'm the old person, I'm retiring. But I just think the British women, and it's short course as well, not just long course, short course as well. The British women deserve more recognition and more appreciation, and it's not all about Lucy Charles Barkley. And I'm now going to fill up my gin.
I think everyone, like, you never want to see someone not make the start line because they're injured or ill, and there were obviously a lot of cases of that. And you want to race the best people and you want to beat the best people. So I think from that perspective, you want everyone there so that you have the chance to race them and beat them. But also, on the other hand, when Lucy's not there, it's obviously a very different race in terms of you don't have someone miles off the front that's off the front for ages, which definitely, I'm sure, changes the dynamic a little bit. From as my experience of the race, for me personally, it probably wouldn't have really changed very much at all. We had a really good group of Brits and other people out there, which made it really fun as a whole experience. So yeah, I think it's always just, I guess, frustrating in some ways when you think you have the opportunity to race everyone and people for whatever reason can't make it. So I think that's probably more the kind of the disappointment in not having everybody there. But as other people have also said, that is part of the challenge of a world champs, getting yourself to the start line fit and healthy. But yeah, hopefully Lucy is back for Kona, and we have even more Brits out there and get even more Brits in the top 10.
And Ruth and Kat, I want to finish with you two because you are both involved in the sub-8. Clearly, Kat, you are sort of the the main headline, and Ruth, you are part of the support team. Thoughts on that? How are you feeling about that?
I'm mainly just super happy I don't have to run another marathon in 2 weeks. Literally, honestly, with Fenella and Nikki, I honestly have no idea how you're doing this soon. I have all the respect for you. I've literally, I've had my dad taking me on 4-hour hikes, which have been more than hard enough. So yeah, I really excited for the week. I think we've got a really good, balanced, fun, enthusiastic group of women that are trying to help Kat do this. So it's going to just be actually a really fun week. So there's loads of people that are going to be out there, and I think the whole atmosphere, the build up, all of it is going to just be a really great experience. And I also just think I can't wait to see how Kat does. I think actually seeing how Kat runs a fresh marathon, I say fresh because obviously I'm going to give her so much draft as she sits on my wheel. But yeah, I think getting the opportunity to see Kat do her thing without having to worry about racing her is going to be a really cool experience. So I'm super excited.
Thanks, Ruth. And thank you for being part of Sub-8. Woohoo! Laura says, how did I choose the paces? So had a very short window of being yeah, I think I can do this. And they're like, cool, can you get a team together? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, okay, prove it. Mark and I actually discussed this maybe 6 months ago, ages ago. We were discussing who, if you were to do it, who would you have do it? And we already said we're in a super unique position where I've got experience in the British or national time trialing scene. I've raced against a lot of those girls who are the top amateurs in the country, and I know their therefore their performance level. It's not sort of oh, they're the best, so cool, we'll pick them. I know that they are practiced at time trialing, and a lot of them were team time trialing. So the other thing is always got to consider the risk. They're used to it, they've got the skills, we don't. So to cycle in a group, my biggest concern was like the risk and what if we crash? I'm still not telling Ruth, but like I'm still a bit concerned.
That's my biggest fear. I've got to protect you. So that's honestly my biggest fear, is that I've got to be that steady wheel to make sure you don't crash and that I don't crash in front of you.
And that really will be our biggest challenge. But again, like the risk has been hopefully mitigated by the fact that we're going to work in smaller groups in a way, TBC, and they're going to practice together. So because of the world champs, because of the timing, we haven't got together. We've got 5 days all together on the track, which is obviously going to accelerate any learning and team skill practice before the race, with exclusive access and basically unlimited sort of facilities and support. So it's going to be a very VIP, quick learning experience. So yeah, how did I pick them? It wasn't down to their height, no, which is some Twitter nonsense. It's down to power, and as somebody else brought out earlier about Fenella was talking about coaching, it's down to communication. I think again the biggest risk to going at that high speed is not communicating well enough. So we've just got radio sorted, which Mark and I have been practicing around the house, which should be quite funny. So yeah, it should be I'm like really looking forward to it. And the marathon, goodness, I did 2 times 5 minutes today at marathon pace, and I was feeling a bit dizzy, so I'm sure it'll be fine.
Awesome. Good luck to the both of you. Joanne, I think I have finished asking loads of questions, so you can pick up.
Thank you so much, Helen, for asking all those fabulous questions, and to all of our attendees for joining us. We had a partnership with Newsstand, the skincare and body care brand from Galway, who have offered us a 20% discount on their products, which you can find on www.newsstand.com. Use the code Tri Commute to get 20% off. Thank you to our superstar guests, Hilary Hughes, Fenella Langridge, Ruth Astle, Kat Matthews, Nikki Bartlett, and Laura Siddall for joining us. So there you have it. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it on social media, tell a friend, and check out tritalkingsport.com and InsideTriShow.com for more of the same. We also both have newsletters where you can keep up to date with what we are up to and hear about future Tri Commutes. You'll find everything you need to know over at Tri Talking Sport or at Inside Tri Show across all of the socials, and I mean all of the socials. Helen, thanks for bringing the fun to the party. It's been a blast. And I'm already counting down to working with you again sometime soon. Too early for wine?
It's never too early for wine, Joanne. So thank you so much. And honestly, I cannot wait till the next time.